Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Burnout Talks. It's actually a number five and quite dear to my heart because this time we got approached by our friends at Interact Bulgaria with the request to have this event together in order to discuss the topic of burnout within a very specific group. Actually, it's identified as a risk group, and this is the young demographic, especially during the end of the high school tenure and while preparing for student examinations, and also in a lot of pressure in terms of choosing where to and how to progress their education forward. So I would like to welcome our guests tonight and also present them, Ali and Pavel. Hello and welcome. Hi. Maybe a few words about you, and Ali, I would like to start with you. How do you decide to contact us, and was your idea of organizing this event with us?
So, hello, my name is Alexandra, but everybody calls me Ali, so please do. It's a pleasure for me working for you on this project together because we especially think that it's a really important topic to be talked about. And I discovered the channel in my social media account, so I got pretty interested in the idea behind that. So we from Interact, we reached out and tried to organize this event together in order to raise awareness on this topic because at school we struggle with different problems, and one of them is stress while preparing for our finals or just the typical day in the life of a teenager that has a lot to do. So that's why we try to organize this event in order to help everyone out there who needs to hear something on this topic.
Great. And Pavel is our colleague, actually.
Hello.
And this time in front of camera. Hi. Could you please tell us a bit more about your interest in the burnout, particularly in general in mental health, and what motivated you to join us and to work with us, especially for this event?
Yeah, well, in general, for DigiBurn, I got approached by one of our other colleagues, and he explained to me the idea of the whole company behind the app and everything. And I said, yeah, sure. It was immediately, I said, okay. And we started working together, I think, like a week after that. And for the event right now, I've had a lot of issues with that myself because I have call it academic FOMO a little bit. Like I never really cared about grades and the stuff that I actually had to do, but I always took on too much extracurricular task, and I was going to every competition I could go to, doing every extra presentation I could do, while like almost failing because I couldn't handle like the actual important thing. So that was it. Really spoke to me, the title, because I was really stressed out at times.
Great. We'll discuss it in detail. Thank you. But now back to Ali. I promised I wouldn't, I wouldn't jiggle between the two of you, but it so happens. Because we wanted, in the previous discussion we had, we wanted to give this not so much presentation, but also this point of view of the specific, again, demographic group that you represent. I don't want to sounded like a statistic or so forth, but it will be easier for people your age to relate with you rather than me and explaining all the burnout symptoms and preventive measures and so forth. So I would like to ask you to share a bit more about, because you've mentioned the challenges you face, but specifically with you right now, because this is your last year at high school.
Exactly.
Yes. A bit more about the challenges you faced and where do you feel the stress, because I believe it will resonate with a larger part of our audience, especially for tonight's event.
Yeah. So the problem at my age is that we're dealing with a lot of homework sometimes, and this homework could be also quite difficult to do. It's not only just write something down; it's more about thinking, and at some point you're starting to overthink. Am I good enough? Can I do all the things that they want from me in order to have good grades? Because sometimes you're really wondering, can I be a successful person later on if I'm not good enough here at school when this is the easy level? Then I have only to level up in the future. And if I cannot do this task, how can I be someone who is successful later on? So that's one part of the problem. Second part of the problem is the amount of exams that we need to do, and especially at my last year at school, there are plenty. So you have to prepare for them, and it's not one at a time, but they're all together. So
Yeah. So you
it's
got the state
yeah,
examination, the standardized state
yeah.
examination. You also, I believe, you have university initial examinations, and also
Of course, every
yeah,
single university has its own requirements,
definitely.
and yeah, if you want to go at some certain point, then you need to do tests and exams in advance, and they're a burden that you have also to take.
And also the current examination during the standard high school curriculum that we
Yeah,
have to, yeah. So this is at least three lines of or three areas of exams. And also you've mentioned universities. I believe you also consider opportunities abroad, not only here in Bulgaria,
yeah.
as most of your people your age will do. Okay, and also I would like to not so much install it as a format, but you can also ask me questions and in specific areas, for example, preventive measures or some diagnostic tools, or not tools, but much as indicators that you can consider. So I'll be happy to address them as well. But let's now move on to Pavel.
Pass me the mic.
Yep. Tell us about your challenges and especially I believe you've experienced it as well when you were at this level of your education and how it transformed now.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say I love this right now because we're talking about the same thing, but she's explaining a completely different problem than what I had.
Mm.
Because I never cared about tests and grades, but the other things started building up. And she's actually being smarter and caring about the things that matter, and they're burning it out. So that's really funny. But yeah, I think in general, the last grade and before university, it's a pretty hard time to go through, and that's normal. I actually talked to a psychologist about it, and I didn't go to a session. I just happened to
Yeah, yeah.
meet with someone, so I talked about that, and she said basically, yeah, you have a couple of like rough periods in your time where you can experience like crises,
Mm-hmm.
and that especially like those like a year and a half are pretty tough, can be really tough on you because you basically feel like you have to choose something and it has to be that thing and you have to chase after like a profession or something, and I don't believe it's like that. But yeah, I felt really stressed around that time, and I saw multiple different symptoms that
Mm.
started coming out. I became really angry at stuff. Like immediately, someone would like I would drive my car, and someone would, I don't know, do something that I didn't want him to do, and I go crazy. And I don't do that, but yeah, and it's kind of stuck with me since then. I'm trying to control it, but I still have some like different kinds of behaviors that have kind of changed since I graduated high school.
Mm.
And for example, I have trouble with oversleeping.
Oversleeping.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is really weird because I've always been the type of guy where I hear my alarm. I don't care. Like I don't care when I went to bed. If I went to bed 2 hours ago, I hear it. I'm up. I couldn't
Mm.
fall asleep again.
Mm-hmm.
And basically after that time, I think like the virus had something to do with it. Maybe being stuck inside for so
Yeah.
long. But now it's like my rhythm is completely, and I've been trying to get it back for 8 months, but I can't do it.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it's
I
generally
mean,
a
it's not
stressful time.
nice, but it's nice that you're sharing.
Yeah, but it's generally a stressful time, and it can be
Yeah.
really tough, especially if you're applying to different schools, and it depends on what the schools are.
Mm-hmm.
Universities, colleges, different schools have different things that they different requirements, but it can be pretty tough. I was about to apply to the acting academy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually, I was studying for it 2 days before the exam, and I decided, no, I don't want to. But yeah, it was really tough, and that was like 7 hours of work almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was on my summer break on the beach
Yeah.
reading. But yeah, it can be tough,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably the time where uh, I think you can see it most. And I think especially colleges can be more tough than high school, like as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure, 12th grade is really tough,
Yeah, yeah.
but talking about colleges and the epidemic of people taking mental enhancers,
Mm-hmm.
cognitive enhancers
Mm-hmm.
like Adderall, which don't enhance anything, but you know, it's a tough place to be sometimes.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I also experienced it that firsthand when I was, especially at 12th grade, because this it's like the crossroad um, that you're feeling. You had to not only make the decision, but you're changing identities. You're no longer the high school student. You're progressing now, and also if it involves changing, for example, the city you're living in or the country
Yeah.
you're living in, it's a lot of challenges you have to face, and also this would back to the stimulants part. Even if you stay on coffee and Red Bulls and so forth, am I allowed to mention any brands? Okay, coffee or other stimulants. But yeah, it is enough to provoke or to increase the risk of mental challenges, especially in the burnout area or anxiety related. But Oh, okay. So we have our third guest that joined, I believe.
Only with audio,
Only with audio. Okay.
but we can give it a try.
Let's see.
Can ask her if she hears us.
Emmy, do you hear us?
Yes, do you hear me?
Uh, yes, I believe now we can hear you even better. Hello and welcome. Could you please tell us bit more about yourself and introduce it to our audience?
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, I want to excuse myself that I cannot turn my video on, but I'm outside of the country, and it turns out that Mac OS and this platform very well. And to introduce
Mm.
myself, I'm 18 years old at the German high school Konstantin Gelbov in Sofia. I'm at the same class with Ali. It's pretty much what she said about me and how I got interested in burnout. It's just that I have actually never known that there is well such a thing existing. I just experienced it firsthand because I was always trying to do things best, never get any rest. I was like, well, it should be easy, so I don't really need to sleep that much. I can go to a party and then I can do all the work I have to, and it's going to be fine. And at some point, I started losing interest in the things that I loved doing the most. Thought, well, that's not okay, and I started more, and I suspected that I have burnout. So when I learned that we actually can do a project together with some experts on the topic, I was really interested, and I took this opportunity.
Great. Thank you so much. I would like to now, because I got this idea to discuss maybe the risk factors or the in some way the earlier symptoms. And I will ask you maybe questions and see how it on different areas and see how we test on it. So the first area I would like to discuss is sleep. Now, being inspired by you. How is your sleep lately? And I'll explain later why I'm asking that first. Uh,
You asking me?
yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, you're oversleeper.
Yeah. Well. Oh, okay. Well, the thing is that again,
Mm.
if I hear the alarm, I'm up.
Mhm.
But since like for 8 months now, I don't hear anything while I sleep.
Oh.
But and that sounds nice. That
Mhm.
sounds you're having great quality sleep. You're sleeping like so deeply. It's so great. No, and I don't feel like I get enough sleep as well. So it's a weird
Enough
mix.
quality sleep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
And Ali, how
what I'm
is it with
dealing
you?
with.
I think that I'm sleeping a bit too not that much as I
Mhm.
should too, because I have read that 7 to 8 hours is the normally regular sleep, that it's good and healthy for you. But lately I have been studying a bit more because we're in something like a session of exams. We were a week ago, and there were periods of time, let's say 5 days or 6 days in a row, that I have slept only 4 hours per night.
Mm.
And I don't really know the reason. Maybe it's the stress that I'm feeling, that I can rest that easily, or maybe because I'm a night owl and I use the night hours to study because I think that I'm preparing better this way.
Mm.
But anyway, I'm not sleeping the way that it's healthy that I would like to.
Mm-hmm. And Emmy, how is your sleep, or was your sleep?
Well, it's really strange because I'm really tired like the whole day. I cannot wait to get to sleep. And then in the evening, I become restless and I just listen to music until 2 o'clock and I get up at 8 and I cannot, well, yeah, it's like a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. 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 Great. Maybe I can put some perspective here from my experience as well, because as I mentioned, my first burnout was when I was 19. The first thing I mm, mm, maybe disproportionately underestimated was the sleep. As all of you, I began to sleep less in order to have more time to prepare, to study, and to invest in different kinds of activities that will support, or at least I thought so, that would support the that the support the process of me achieving a higher result at the examination. So sleep was the first maybe area that I grossly underestimated, and it was the first and it is the first risk factor. But you can see now how it's related to the other areas as well. It will be very hard to increase the quality of sleep if you do not address the other areas as well. What I mean by that, for example, it's like trying to meditate when you're stressed. Rarely it will work. And if the body is anxious, you cannot even you cannot rest, how to put it, efficiently if the body is in tension, let alone sleep. One of the main key areas here is as a major part is the sleep, but I'm gonna ask you now about the other areas first and then go back to the sleep, because the quality of the sleep will not increase if you not address the other areas. And the next is how is your nutrition?
It's actually great. It doesn't look like it, but
Why is that so?
so I'm obviously overweight. But
Okay.
basically, I had a really bad lifestyle
Mm-hmm,
until, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and then I lost 25 kgs, and then
Oh wow,
yeah,
nice.
it looks like that.
Oh.
So did that, and then I mean, I still ate kind of not really good food
Mm-hmm,
sometimes. I think moderately, like any normal person, and then I got kind of sick
mm-hmm.
like 3 months ago, so I had to get a better diet. It was really specific. No foods that come in cans. You can't eat
Mm.
anything that's smoked, stuff like that. So now
Yeah.
I'm still abiding by it. So now it's great. And yeah, my sleep was affected by that. Really, like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm seeing a big change because at least now I can fall asleep. Because before, the problem with waking up was kind of that I was turning around in bed and couldn't fall asleep until like 3:30.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now I can fall asleep better.
Nice. Okay.
So by me, it's differs. It depends whether I'm at stress at school or whether I have a lot on my schedule, a lot of
Yeah.
appointments, a lot of things to do. But when I'm at stress,
You
let's
can see the
say,
sugar level going up.
yeah, that's one part. But I'm trying to skip meals because this way I think that I'm more concentrated. Because when I eat, let's say I can get sleepy or just less productive. And when I skip eating, then I have more time to focus on that what's really matter this period of time for me. And also skipping meals help me stay productive in a way because I don't waste time on having a meal. I just can sit down and work on my appointments that I need to do. Otherwise, I try to eat healthy, at least that,
Mm-hmm.
and because we all need the nutrition to be, yeah, let's say concentrated even less. But I cannot consider this as a healthy lifestyle because it differs. There are some periods of time that I eat a lot, and
Mhm.
then there are these periods that I barely touch something. So
Yeah. And Amy, you were up, especially prior to the burnout. How was your nutrition back then?
Well, I'm sorry for the noise, but my nutrition, I'm actually counting my calories, so I think it's like proportional. Try to eat like I think it was called the zone, and you have
Mhm.
to yeah to focus on the ratio between carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. But at the same time, I feel that I'm not eating enough because I want to maintain like a skinny body. I like skinny girls. It's like I've always been like that. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
it's like a little bit like Ali, but I'm not skipping meals. I'm just eating less than I should.
Mhm. So you're this analytical eater. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah. Well, the two main areas here, two main not areas so much. Two main challenges here is one is overeating the wrong foods, and especially as I mentioned, the sugar content going up with the stress levels, because it's easier for the brain to find some kind of solicitation there in order to address the stress that it doesn't know how to otherwise. And the other thing, which actually is much more dangerous, is undereating. So undernutrition, actually, it's not the amount of food solely, but also the quality of the food. Because, for example, if you overdose on sugary drinks and also I'm not allowed to mention any names again, but sugary drinks or sugar foods to try to address the increased stress levels and demand of the nervous system in that area, you for sure are increasing the risk of burnout. Not also burnout, yes, but it's actually a risk factor, and it has its impact on it. So and also under eating or under nutritious eating, let's say it that way. So for example, you're losing and especially in time in challenging times when you have uh, increased demands of mental activity, then also, let's say the micronutrient requirements are really high. For example, vitamins, minerals, especially the B group vitamins. And I don't want to get into excessive details on this one, but the demands are super increased in that period of time. And if you're only eating sugar because you're stressed and you drop everything down, that's actually that was the first mistake I did. Was this actually the second mistake I did? Was this one, to not be cautious about my nutrition and just eat whatever whenever. And this was really really quite a. I can say now from this perspective, if you lose your accountability for your nutrition while in challenging times, for sure you are setting yourself up to failure rather than setting yourself for success. And the third area, and I would, it will be the last one, is about physical activity. I will not say exercise or some, because I don't want to specify, but in general, physical activity. What was the level of your physical activity, or it is now, whatever you prefer?
Yeah, well, I switch a lot. I'm
Mhm.
not a I don't really stick to my stuff. So there will be 6 months where I go, no, not 6 months, but 4 months where I go daily to the gym, and then it's the winter time and I'm skiing like twice a week or
Mhm.
even more, and then I'm not doing anything
Mhm.
for 3 months. I'm not even walking my dog, and then
Mhm.
comes a time where I walk my dog like I think around like combined, I think an hour and a half a day.
Mhm.
So it's really not something that always happens. But I'd say like maybe no physical activity to moderate, I guess. If I have to,
Yeah.
I mean, going to the gym for 4 months and then not doing it for another year and then again doesn't count.
Well, on an average, it's
Yeah, on an average, it's
you're
great.
going 3 times a week
It's
on an
one
average.
third. Yeah,
But great,
but yeah, not really that much.
Okay, I'm a ballet dancer actually,
great.
so I train regularly. I go to ballet 2 times a week at the least when we have these concerts. Then we are increasing our time for dancing. So on this side, I'm physically active, I can say. Uh, Probably for me, it's the change because when I was younger, when I was at seventh grade or eighth grade, I was doing a lot more. Then I trained synchronized swimming, and I had trainings 4 to 5 times a week, and I really was patient about what I was doing. So compared to that, now I cannot consider myself physically active, because to my standards, it's not as good as I would like it to be. But actually, there are these days, let's say, that I cannot move from the sofa. I'm just sitting there and chilling or studying or whatever. And they're the dense days that I'm really physically active. So it differs, but I try to maintain the physical activity during the whole year. So yeah.
And what happens when examination time comes, or let's say big challenge in that area comes? How do you physical activity increase or decrease?
Well, I try to not skip training. So they could be only 2 times a week, but if it's not that important, so it's just an exam at school, then I really try to keep going, because this keeps me motivated, or it gives me the energy that I probably wouldn't have if I wasn't dancing.
Definitely, yes, thank you. And Emmy, how about you?
Well, I would describe my physical activity as non-existent. Like into sports, I've never been good. I've never liked them, and I even got advised by some doctors to start training more regularly, because that this lacking physical activity has led to some problems with that. Well, they said that the only way to cope with them is to actually start doing some sports.
Nice. So nice. You're so honest. Thank you for that. This was actually mistake number one that I did. I would say back in the day, but this is not that back in the day at all. But when I encountered the first burnout of mine, it was actually my first, and I believe the biggest mistake was I've cleared all physical activity, because I'm keen in variety of sports, and especially combat sports. But back then I decided, no, I don't have time for this now. I only have to study and focus and commit myself. And I erased all physical activity, which was mistake number one, because when you have this amount of mental stress building up and demands on the nervous system, you cannot rest or relieve it if you don't have any kind of physical activity, especially the ones with higher intensity are working much more effectively in combating stress or stress related symptoms. So back on topic one, that's why I started from the end actually to the beginning. If you don't have your any kind of, I don't want to be advocate for one sport over another, or any type of physical activity which you enjoy, not do it forcefully, would be super tool to combat any stress related, also anxiety symptoms, also even depression. But let's not go into that, because we're focusing only on initial stages of pre-burnout actually, because it will help when you have it as well, but let's try to focus on what we can do in order to prevent it. So any form of physical activity, rather intense one, intense for you. I don't mean to, it's not helpful to compare yourself to others, because it's your body, it's your physicality, your nervous system, anything is completely specific to you. So the level of intensity that is adequate to you will be perfect for this. And then nutrition, and then the sleep will automatically you can do specific things to address the sleep, but if you had these two in that sequence addressed first, it will significantly help with the sleep without even having to worry much about it. But you cannot have quality sleep if you don't have any kind of form of physical exercise, just because the stress levels will build up. That's I'm specifically focusing now on time when you are challenged, whether it be an examination, whether it be in a series of examinations coming all together. When we are challenged, this is the first thing is to address the physical activity, nutrition, and then sleep. That's the tactics, let's say, the strategy to set yourself to success or to win rather than to lose and failure. Do you have any questions actually for me, or go ahead? Go ahead.
I do. Actually, to everyone, I think first to you. What do you think about not eating in times of, longer periods, like 6 hours of high intensity work, but doing it like with enjoyment? Because I think not from the health perspective. I think we all know that that's not good. But I mean, it happens to me a lot where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna finish this and then I'm gonna eat, and it's gonna be a reward for it, and then I finish that thing and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna continue going, and then I'm gonna eat and it's gonna be nice. And it really is nice when you eat like after like 7 hours, but it's not healthy. But I think that's actually a really common thing that people do. So I want to see what you guys think, if you think it's as common as I think, because I think like almost everyone deals with stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, actually, the one thing that's really interesting here, performance-wise, it's better not to eat if you already started the task. Because eating will slow your digestion is a process that require a lot of resources that will not be allocated to supporting the nervous system function. So on that in that context, it's better not to eat because it will optimize performance. On the other hand, if you're in the middle of a task and you're really stressed out, and you go, if not you won't, but you go to eat because you have to, that will be suboptimal. Again, because you're not be able to absorb and actually have the nutrition out of the food optimally because you're stressed out, for example, or you're when you're busy, it's best not to work, or you have major challenge or any other task that requires a lot of attention and focus. It's best to skip meal even, but this cannot go on forever. For example, if you do it, okay, one meal, it will be sufficient, but when you complete the task, you should reward yourself actually by having a meal. And you have to do it in a calm state, because there's a lot of research on this, but at least 40% of the way you absorb the food is related to your mental state during the time you eat it. It's not what you eat, it's what you do with what you eat. So it's not ingestion, but rather digestion. So the absorption part of this is quite related to your emotional and mental well-being while you're eating. So on that note, you have to be in a calm, relaxed state. That's why we have this, we discussed it maybe, I believe, in one of the previous episodes, the two predominant, let's say, not stages, responses of the nervous system: the flight or flight response, the adrenaline one, and actually it's fight, flight, or freeze, which is the stress response. And also you have to rest and digest. But you see how they structure it. You cannot digest if you're not rest first. So they are modulated in that area as well. The two parts of the nervous system, not two parts, but two, let's say, modes of operating. So yes, it's better to performance-wise to skip meals, but not do it forever. So okay, skip one meal
for one task.
Yeah, do complete the task or even the project, but then you should get your nutrition in place, because otherwise, you know what will happen. You have two scenarios: you will skip meals, and then you'll be really, let's say, not in a good shape, and in under nutritioned. Or the other thing, you skip, and then immediately you get super hungry, and you will not care what you eat, how much you will eat. You just pile
start
up.
compensating.
Yeah, and definitely.
I think there's a third.
I
think there's a third possibility,
overcompensating,
which all of us have done, which is I'm hungry, but I have work to do. Let's just drink my 7th coffee and start being hungry as hell and just jittering all over the place. But I'm writing something on a laptop.
Yeah,
I think that's a very common, which is also really bad.
Yeah, because then you don't care what you eat.
Yeah,
and how much.
Coffee doesn't work like that. You can't just drink. If you've already drank 5 coffees, don't try with another one. It's not going to wake you up. It's just going to make you more drowsy.
Absolutely.
It's not going to help.
Definitely, because the nervous system, the coffee puts the nervous system into, let's say, turbo mode. But you can only use turbo mode for 2-3 times. Then it's not turbo mode. It's just, it would not work.
Yeah.
Ali, what you think about that? Or what is your experience actually?
Okay, so I can say that it's pretty common. So at least it sounds so to me. I have experienced that. And I completely agree that it's important to it because I can see things on me and on my perspective. Yeah, if I haven't eaten the whole day, then I would be less concentrated on the task and it just isn't efficient. But I have a question connected to this topic. So when we are in an exam situation, we are allowed to take foods and everything actually in the room, and I'm not sure that I would eat or drink anything except water while I'm working and while I'm writing my exam because it's really important time and I cannot distract myself this
Yeah.
way. But I wanted to ask, how can we stay productive while being under these stress conditions and still not get overwhelmed by everything that is happening around us?
Well, that's quite quite a complex question. Maybe we could focus on nutrition only right now, if you prefer, in order to be more specific, because otherwise I'll have to give a general answer, and also usually general answer doesn't work. It's harder to apply. So in terms of nutrition, for example, during my I remember now state examinations, one of the state examinations, we were allowed to bring any kind of food. In my experience, that for example, if you have for hours, if you're going to be on this examination, if you feel hungry or if you want to support the cognitive functions, it's best to eat something that is easy digestible, and it's also high in. It may sound crazy, but high in quality carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are the main fuel of the brain, and also it will support the functioning of the nervous system. Best options here are fruits, because they will hydrate at the same time with also provide the quality carbohydrate and enough fiber in it, so it would not spike the blood sugar. The one common mistake is to have sugary drinks or foods. This is not a best option, because although it will provide some short period boost, for example 10-15 minutes, along with the blood sugar spike, but then you will drop, and actually the energy level will go lower than the one you have before eating. I know it's quite shocking, but it is true. For example, if you have one chocolate, full chocolate, as as it happens. For example, but I'm talking now about the industrial, really nice sugar chocolates, not if, for example, if you have dark chocolate with, for example, 70% cacao content, this would not happen, because that is a good option. But yeah, fruit, and also not overeat. So, for example, have in small amounts good quality carbohydrates with enough fiber not to spike the blood sugar. This is really nice, like a biohack to use in especially in examinations. And also stay hydrated. So this is really nice. Again, the top 3 energy sources. So let's do it like a questionnaire. What do you think are top 3 immediate energy sources? So, for example, if I want to have more energy right now, what should I do?
I need to think.
Usually it goes, let's say, but okay, not too.
Okay. Probably something easy to grab. So I will guess nuts can be a good idea, probably. Or protein bar, maybe.
And now we're excluding the any kind of stimulating drinks or any other stimulants. Yeah, we're excluding that, because that is a different area. Okay, you're going towards food, right? Yeah. Okay, that is actually it made it a top 3, but actually the less efficient if you want short-term energy with food, because you have to digest it first. At least you're gonna need maybe 5-10 minutes or even more in order to get in the circulation and so forth. So you have to invest energy first in order to digest, and then you have the benefit. So it's actually number 3. What will be the top 2 and the king number 1?
I don't know. I think water is nice.
Yes.
Just water, not
yes.
not sugar inside it.
Yeah. Water is actually number 2. Hydration is major part of it, and also super important for short-term energy. A lot of the time we're just dehydrated, especially if you consume a lot of coffee, a lot of sugary drinks, again, a lot of high glycemic. I don't want to throw in just so complex terms here, but let's say dough products, especially white flour dough. It's again sugar, and it's one step away from it converting into sugar immediately within digestion. So water is a perfect, but still not the king. Number one.
I don't know what the king is.
I might have an idea, but I'm not sure. I only have heard that some of our teachers told us when we are under stress, we can just move around. So let's just do a few steps in the room and this way relax. So the stress goes from the head to the...
It disperses.
Yeah. And this way you can easily relax and get more energy into your cognitive
disposal. Yeah. It's a one way. But actually the king is...
breathing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. First of all, you can just monitor around us. A lot of the people, first of all, don't know how to breathe, and they don't breathe fully. By fully, I mean the lung is like a balloon, and it's got two major lobes of it and 3 stages of breathing. So you got the diaphragm breathing here, then you have the middle part, and then you have the final part here. And we actually, there are again studies done on this as well. The major part of the population breathes only at about 25 to 30% capacity of the lungs on average. So you have 70% potential that is not utilized. And how longer can you go without food? Rough estimation, guesstimation.
Okay, at once, probably, let's say 30 hours.
Let's say a human being, how long can it go without food?
I think you can go more than 30 days if you drink water.
Yeah.
Like people water fast for 35 days,
Yeah.
and they're fine. Like not fine, they do collapse and.
No, it's actually documented cases of people going without any.
I think you can go like a month.
Yeah. Even more. There was a documented case of it's actually a pirate, and the ship got destroyed, and he was able to survive on a small part of the vessel with which they've sailed, and he was able to go to some small island and stay there for over 2 months without any food, because there was nothing on this piece of rock. And when they find him, he overeat on not cucumbers but on peppers, and he was really close to dying. So because his digestive system was super out of, but they didn't have anything when they rescued him. However, you can go for months even without food. How long can you go without water?
Less.
I mean, everyone says a week. I don't know if that's exactly the time you can go with.
Yeah, I don't know either, but for sure much less than.
Yeah, much less.
Probably.
We're talking about hallucinations.
Yeah, a couple of days, and it gets really bad really fast.
Pretty tough. Yeah.
And now, how long can you go without air, without breathing?
Oh, that depends on many factors.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, for example, David Blaine, he breathed that time on the Oprah show. He breathed in enhanced oxygen, like it has more oxygen than normal air, and he I think was it 16 minutes? I think he was fine.
Okay, so
yeah,
definitely less than an hour.
Definitely.
And this is for professionals. Yeah.
Me, 4 minutes at most, and I'm gonna be dead.
Oof, even less, believe me. But yeah, so you can see how the physiology is structured this way. So that's why we have to go first to breathing, then hydrating, and then food. Food is a more of a long-term solution, but I'm talking again in the context of immediate energy. For boosting the short-term energy, food is not the best option. Although it has its role in the short period or in the longer period of time, that's different topic. But if you want to increase the energy now, first of all, breathe at full capacity, then hydrate, and then you can leave it to the food. But for immediate purposes, breathing and hydration. Any other?
Okay, probably again connected to
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but when we're under stress and we sit down and we're lost and we don't have an idea how to move on, I suppose that breathing helps again. But what can we do in this exact moment, except from just breathing and trying to relax and to maintain the calmness that we can do in order that we keep moving afterwards, but more productive than before?
Can you please specify or give me a bit more context?
Yeah, okay. Let's say that you're in the middle of your exam and then you just get stuck there. You have no idea what you can do further. And then you start overthinking. No, I cannot do anything. And you're just blocking and stop working. And then sometimes you're under such stress that you have no idea what can help you right now. Okay, maybe you can consider breathing as an idea and try to breathe and this way relax. But if that doesn't help you, or if you think that it doesn't help you, what other options are there?
Nice, really nice question. Actually, okay, let's see it this way. I'm trying to think tools that will be applicable in that scenario, because you have some limitations when you're in an exam environment. But yeah, the first thing is breathing. If you lose the breathing, you lose your state immediately, and the state you're in, by state I mean physical, emotional. The state that you're in is the most important factor determining the ability the ability at which the ability to perform, and actually the result. For example, if you're stressed, your intelligence or let's say this because I don't want to get into percentage, but for example, if you provoke a stressful response, or you have a stressful response, let's say intense stressful response, the more intense it is, the level of your intelligence is dropping in the direct proportion, and in really fast. But I mean, it goes to maybe 60-70% drop of the level of your thinking alone. So this is the first thing. You have to stay calm, but there isn't till this moment in the history of calming people down, there isn't a single case documented that somebody was calmed down after he was being said to. So if you say to somebody, including yourself, calm down, it will not work. Actually, it will get more stressful even, because you're starting to think, what, I'm calm down. What do you mean by that? So the first thing, yes, stay with the breathing, because if you lose your breathing, you lose everything afterwards. It gets really, really hard, because it's the breathing is inherently related to our nervous system, and also to our thinking as well, and to the brain. If you're start to breathe unrhythmically and shallow, it will immediately provoke a stressful response, or at least it will drop your intelligence big time, big time. And also let's not go to the hormones, but I'll mention just the stressful response. It's usually related to a few hormones that are largely studied. One is adrenaline, which gets you pumped up, and the other is cortisol, which is usually associated with states of fear or anxiety, or being under some kind of threat, and also to provoke the response of either fighting the threat or running away from it. Now, in recent times, because this is a 2 million old mechanism, in recent times we don't have a saber-toothed tiger or any other creature attacking us, and because the mechanism is still on, we use it to, or it gets triggered by the feeling I'm not enough, or I will fail this exam, and so forth. So in an exam situation, if you trigger that kind of a response, why I'm saying the intelligence drops down, because this is the way this mechanism works. If you have cortisol in your body, immediately the blood flow will go from the frontal part of the brain into the midbrain. Therefore, you will lose your ability to have critical thinking, and also the ability to be creative or to think creatively or find a solution, you will get more linear in terms of because you need that resources to fight or flight. You don't need to think or to strategize or to be creative or no. So you tell me in that situation, which is better, to be under stress or to not, to be let's say like this way, to be smart or to be dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you need your resources. So in that scenario, first thing, focus on the breathing. But what I mean by breathing is deep breathing with the belly. I don't want to show it right now, but it's plenty of exercises online that you can research and see instructions how to do it. But the deep breathing is concentrated here. Also, change the position that you're in. For example, when you're under this kind of, let's say, catastrophic thoughts, I don't know what to do. I would fail this exam, and this means that everything is going there. In that scenario, usually, what type of position do your body is?
Yeah.
You started getting to the fetal position.
Yeah, absolutely. So radically change that, because if you're bend over and crunch down and everything, you're not resourceful for sure. So open up the chest and start to breathe. And remember, it will not get easier. But if you're in a bad state, let's say not bad, unresourceful state, it would not be easier for you to overcome it. So you have to be at your full capacity. In order to be, you have to be prepared. So breathing, change the position that your body in, and if you feel that it's really hard and you cannot overcome it, then maybe go to the bathroom or move in order to be able to move your body and to just change the context of the situation. And that way the things that you're associating, because it's not true. Okay, maybe it's hard, you don't know what to do, but you don't know what to do at the moment at the state you are in. But it will not help it if you just stay there and feel sorry for yourself. And so move around. If you have to move around, go to the bathroom, hydrate, move again the body, breathe, and then come back and see what happens. So this is the way to utilize the capacity that you have in order to be to have a best chance to address or tackle the challenge. Otherwise, it will tackle you.
Yeah.
I have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to say three things. So first, like the way that you're positioning your body is huge, and it stems from a lot of things, and even twitching your fingers like that or doing that with your leg, that's an expression of stress. That's a comforting motion. Putting your hand on top of your face is again a comforting motion. Playing with your hair, everything, it means that there's stress coming and you're trying to comfort yourself in different ways. And the fetal position is really you're never gonna be in an exam room and do this. I mean, it's gonna be pretty comical, but you are gonna do something like it. Maybe start sitting like that over like the piece of paper or whatever. So yeah, and I have a like a challenge for all of you. That comes from the guy that can't sleep very well. But when you wake up, just sit on your bed and do this and say yes. You're gonna look like an idiot, but it's a great start to your day. Then the second thing is, I really agree with the break thing. Sometimes in exams, and not even exams, in your work life, it feels like stuff has to happen now, but 5 minutes don't mean anything to that task. You can take 5 minutes. You have that time. Even if you have 10 minutes and you're in an exam room, I would prefer to take like 3 minutes and go to the bathroom rather than stay inside and be really stressed about it. And then the third thing is kind of how I dealt with it in exam stress, is kind of stop for a second. I have the time. Yeah, I have 40 minutes. It might be stressful later on, but just take 10 minutes and think about, first of all, why am I here? And second of all, does it matter as much as I feel like it does? Because I think a lot of us feel like it matters so much more than it does. Every test that we take, it doesn't matter. It's a piece of paper asking you if you know some things. Do you know that? No. Well, okay, move on. And then I I don't want to sound like yeah, school doesn't matter. It matters, sure, but in different ways than maybe sometimes we feel like it does. So you're not gonna fail in life because you got too stressed on a test, on your final test. You're not gonna fail in life. You're gonna if you have to end up in a good university, you're gonna end up there no matter what, even if you end up there in 5 years. But things aren't so grand, and I feel like especially in our age, we think that okay, I'm 18, I'm in my last grade of high school, and now basically I gotta make sure that in 5 years I'm making huge money, I got a family, and you don't. I'm sure that when I'm 30, I'm not gonna know who I am, and I'm completely fine with that. We just have to take some time every day and in stressful situations to kind of put context into where we are and why we're feeling that way, and should we be feeling like, yeah, not should, because there's no way that you should feel about stuff, but could we feel a bit more at ease?
How do you choose to feel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really nice topic here about the level of importance that we usually put on these things. It's actually not that it doesn't matter. It matters,
It
but
matters.
in the right context. How much does it matter? So it's not everything will fall down, because the brain has this, the mind actually has this really nice phenomenon of over exaggerating things. Have you noticed?
Brutalizing,
Yeah, generalizing or super imploding, like not imploding, but blowing out of proportion things. So the level of importance that we put on an exam, and if you start to believe it, it will get really, really real, really fast. Oh no, I'll fail this and everything will. No, actually, it will not. You will fail an examination.
I failed my exam. 2 weeks later, I'm on the street.
Everything is come on, you have at the first, actually my first degree at the university, I have maybe 60, 70 exams. Come on, how important can one exam be when you have 70 of them? It's 1/70th of importance, let's say, in the context of the whole. It's a really nice, now that I'm thinking, it's a really nice technique also to address it. When it gets this all dramatical and fatalistic and everything is okay, how important actually is, and see it in a larger context of your life. Okay, this is right now, I'm at this stage of my life, this is important, but not like life or death. Okay, come on. And also, how can I learn from this? How can I interpret it? And if you want, but this is really high level stuff, how can I enjoy it? How can I enjoy the process of failing? Okay, nice. Okay, I'm gonna fail right now, but am I willing to sacrifice my emotional well-being over this, or can I use it as a tool for my growth and actually build emotional resilience? And when everything is are we allowed to curse, or okay? Yeah. When the shit hit the fan, can I approach it with a smile, or I'll be destructive? Because this is one of the in our observation in my other company. Actually, there's three main factors of a successful professional at this day and age. Again, this is our opinion, but it's based on a lot of observation. And the first one is emotional endurance. By endurance, I mean how equipped you are to face the challenges, because the challenges are getting more complex, and there will be more. But if you are equipped properly with the right tools, the emotional endurance is one of the main factors that separates the successful from unsuccessful people. By successful, I mean not only just in their professional careers, but also as a human being. Because if you sacrifice everything, your health, your relationship, your family, everything, in order to obtain a position or get to the level of income you, let's say, imagine it will satisfy you, that's not a success. But one of the main factors of achieving this is emotional endurance. And related to one of the main factors of this actually is the ability to put things in perspective and in context.
Yeah, you don't mean just to clarify, emotional stability doesn't mean, well, I'm not gonna be successful because I'm stressed that my dog went away. It's more how you deal with it. But everyone is going through hell in their minds, like really often. But it's more how you deal with it. But that's a really philosophical thing, actually, about putting things into perspective, because I think we as people really tend to care about our current self. I'm here doing this thing, and that's the thing that matters. We rarely even think about ourselves in the next week, our next week egos, that maybe you should take care of him. And that's like why procrastination happens, because you want to satisfy yourself now. Yeah, I'm going to think about it in 5 days, and then you wish you satisfied yourself before. But we never really think about the future self. And if you and I think it's natural to do that. I think it's fully natural to, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, I'm going to think about what I'm going to eat in 7 days, and then I'm going to go kill a bear or something. I don't know, but if we kind of force ourselves to think further in time and realize how, yeah, life. Old people say life is short, but for us right now, it's long. So, you know, that's a piece of the thing to think about, that it's you're not your life is not high school, and it's not uni. It's all of those things, and the failures you have, and all the things that happen badly, and all things that happen in a good way. But thinking about that kind of helps, because I really think that people, and me as well, when you're in a bad situation, you think about that bad situation, and that's my life, and that's who I'm gonna be, and this is the thing.
Talking about blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah, and it's not the thing, but
yeah. It could be, if you believe it. It could
Yeah.
be. It very well could be. Yeah, that's the problem, though. If you identify with that as this is it, or attach the label that is super catastrophic, as we've discussed, it will happen. It will be, or at least your experience of it will be as such. But again, the perspective really helps. How are we with the time?
7:15.
So we can continue, or?
I guess you have 10 more minutes.
Okay. Any other questions or topics?
Yeah, well, maybe let's think about all those things in the context that we're in now, because that's really interesting. In COVID, and the lockdowns and stuff like that. Like personally, it really affected me, the fact that the place where I sleep and I rest is the place where I have to work.
Yeah.
This ruined all the balance I had in my life. Because I've always, like, if I gotta work and it's really a hard task that I gotta do, I'm gonna go to a cafe, I'm gonna go in a different room, but I'm never gonna do it in my bedroom. But then I was locked in my house with 3 other people. I couldn't go in another room because they're gonna kill me, because now everyone hates each other because we've been together for 4 months. And so I have to stay in the same place and do work and rest, and that's a really a catastrophic thing, because I think we apply like meanings to places. And this is my bedroom, this is my place, this is my safe space. Then when you kind of break that, it didn't work well with me personally. And I talked to a lot of people, and they shared the same thoughts.
Yeah, definitely had some impact, but maybe include the girls on this one as
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
because-
Okay, I can talk about. I absolutely agree with this separation of rooms and so on. It's extremely hard to continue studying in this environment that is new for you, or you have just thought of it as something else and not that it had become. But something is interesting by us as students is that we have to deal with distance learning, which is basically cutting all your contacts. You don't see people live as you was used to, and this indirect connection can be quite stressful, or at least it's something that you cannot bear as easily as it may sound, because you need to adapt to this new situation. But not only just I'm gonna open my laptop and I'm gonna connect to the Zoom room, and then it's gonna be just the same. No, it's a different kind of experience that you need to focus on, and it's hard because it's new. No one has gone through something like this. I mean, from 2020 till now, a lot of stuff has changed, but still being away from your friends that maybe when you are at school, they can support you or help you, or you're just talking to each other when you have free time. It's different than just, okay, now I'm not in this online environment, I'm gonna just be with muted without my camera,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
what do I do? Nothing. It's a hard situation, and also mentally to prepare for that and to bear it, it's challenging for sure.
What do you think about teachers? Because I think that they're also really impacted by it, and through them, it impacts again the students. Because I cannot imagine having to talk like to a computer screen for a
Yeah.
living. That I think
Yeah,
that kills
it feels.
all the enjoyment in
Yeah.
it. So I think that's what do you think about that? I think it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, okay. At our schools, there are some teachers that inquired a camera to be on because they don't want to talk to a screen, and that's completely understandable. I can see the point in that, but the thing is that at some point you're not okay with that because. Okay, I will give an example with myself. At my home, we're living with my grandma, and my room is next to hers. And there are times that she just needs to go through my room to go to the toilet or to the kitchen or whatever. And I cannot be always on camera because I don't want my grandma to be in my background.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of teachers that are understanding. They tell us that it's important, but if we don't have the opportunity, then that's fine. But we also have these teachers that tell us that they will lower our grades if we're not with cameras, and that they cannot evaluate our the stuff we do and our input and the work as a class. So yeah, there are different types of teachers. I can consider that for some of them it's extremely hard to deal with technology and so on, especially if they're older. But I can see that the ones that are younger, they are really adaptive. They have plenty of tools that they can use on the internet, and in this way they manage to keep our interest in this distance type of learning. And with them it's okay. They really try to think also about our mental health, not only how to study and how to teach us things. They are yeah, they care.
Nice. And Amy, how was your experience with this distance learning bullshit? Yeah. Did we lost her? She got bored.
She's online, but we don't seem to hear her.
Okay, well,
Yeah, at least the good news is that these kind of situations hopefully are something of, or at least diminishing in frequency of happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope this will be the last now with this, and I don't want even to.
Well, my experience
Oh,
was exactly
okay.
like
Hi.
Ali mentioned. I
Total bullshit, right?
was, yeah, I
Yeah. She's out, yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully, yeah, because yeah, I don't even want to comment it because my opinion is rather drastic, and not want to go into that topic also. But at least in the context that we can use it as a challenge, because every challenge presents the opportunity for us to learn and to grow and to build that endurance that I mentioned prior to that, especially in this context when it's really hard. But because right now, let's face it, it's much more easier or much than it was, let's say, in 2020, because you remember we have the first lockdown was we cannot even go from one city to another without some sort of document or reason or any other bullshit. Not to comment on that again, but yeah, it was a nice tool to use, or it can be used in this regard. And also it's really nice to have this like awareness to apply when when it gets hard. How can I use this? How can apply this to serve my growth and emotionally and personally, rather to be to view it as a limitation or have it like complaining about it because I'm uncomfortable saying bitching about it, but
Well, you said it.
yeah, no. Rather than complaining about it, how can be applied and used in terms of to serve our growth and to serve us rather than limiting us and leave us wounded in a way. Do we have time for? Actually, do we have any questions from the chat or no? And do we have time for more questions here? Yeah, great. So, if you have any other topics,
Okay, let's say I just need to see what our students community have asked, because
Nice.
we asked them and they reached out and told us things
Oh,
that are
great,
interesting
nice.
for
Okay.
them. So we have the question: how can we work on our self-esteem?
Self-esteem.
Yeah.
Oof, okay, this is rather.
This is hard.
Yeah. Right. Okay, let's see. It's sort of a general question, and also work on probably, I believe, in terms of improving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. mm, well, when you, as I want to give something that can be easily applied, let's say, how can we work on our self-esteem? See yourself as a project under development, forever under development, let's say. So you can always have these areas you can improve in, or what can you learn, how can you apply, and what is really interesting for you in terms of areas that you want to develop, and view every situation, especially the challenging situations, as a tool for improvement. And also, if you strip down, because a lot of the times this let's say, also I'm not the expert here, but I just sharing from my experience, a lot of the times that we have challenges with self-esteem is when we view ourselves as let's say, somebody who doesn't have enough knowledge or enough experience or enough I don't know, capabilities in order to express anything. It doesn't matter. If you view yourself as a project under development, and there will always be areas in which you will have the opportunity to develop or to increase, or you can improve, and you approach it with that understanding and that level of awareness, then your self-esteem will naturally increase, because you will be you have the humility not to overestimate yourself, but also not underestimate yourself, and go with also one other thing, use specific facts when you determine the level of your esteem at the moment. So you detach your interpretation of what it happened, and rather stay in reality, and not disproportionately use like limitations or different kinds of view of yourself. So I will not recommend, but maybe share it as an idea or tool that can be used.
I do have kind of a thing to do about that, because I've been really insecure about myself different times in my life for different stuff, and I think I'm not sure if a psychologist would agree with me if I say that, but I think talking to other people has helped me a lot, because a lot of times you're insecure about something, and then you realize you're just like everybody else in that thing, so they have to be
And
insecure
nobody's
about it.
perfect, including you.
Yeah, exactly. Or what happens is you tell someone, "Hey, I'm insecure." One of your friends, you shouldn't go to another person up on the street and say, "I'm insecure about myself."
It will really help you.
It could actually work. I don't know. Strangers are cool sometimes.
Yeah.
Going to one of your friends that you've never talked about this, and you can say, "Hey, I just want to talk about it. I just want to share about it. I'm insecure about this." A lot of times these people are insecure about the same thing in themselves, or something kind of related to that. And once you start talking to people and realize that you're not the only one that has this problem and that's self-conscious about stuff, it's kind of you're kind of okay to accept, yeah, well, okay, I don't feel really good about it, I'm going to work on it, but everyone else seems to have that problem. So
yeah. Again, in context, nobody's perfect, neither do you. You're under development, so focus on the development. Any other
Let's see
question?
another question. Those are interesting.
Okay. So probably connected to this, we also have the question about psychologists and are they helpful? Where can they? When can we find them? Or the does it matter actually to find someone with who has expert meaning on this topic, or we can just talk to our friends, to our family members?
Oh, this is really nice. Can I take this one? Yeah, about psychology. Yes, they are helpful, but with a few key distinctions here. First of all, when you research somebody, now it's easier because it's a lot of information online. But seek out a person that will personally resonate with you in terms of level of expression and the way they're working and the type of therapy they're applying and so forth, therapeutic methods they're applying, and also whether or not they have an actual experience in that which they let's say practice or treat. For example, if you're seeking help for, let's say, prevention of burnout or anxiety, is the therapist you're assessing had experience for himself with anxiety or burnout or some sort of anxiety, let's say, challenges, and what results that he or she have produced. And the results part is actually the funny one, because it's rarely that, okay, I don't want to go to details in that, but yeah, check out the results also. If you have the opportunity to research some patients that he's or clients, okay, that he or she have worked for, what results did they achieve, how did they improve, and so forth. So yes, they can be helpful. And also I strongly recommend, if you're feeling moderate, let's say, symptoms, definitely seek out a professional's help rather than talking to a friend. And it's like any other condition. You will not go to your friend and say, okay, I broke my arm. Look, my arm is broken. What should I do? You go to the doctor. That's with the mental health. Mental health is not exclusion from this principle as well. So seek out professional, but also using the criteria I've mentioned, not just anybody.
Great.
Let's do it in a rapid fire setting.
Okay, we have the question: how can we overcome feelings such as exhaustion from school or even anger?
Oh, you can take the anger one.
I think the way I dealt with anger is actually that's really comical, but physical activity. Especially, as you said, intense physical activity. I mean, maybe even I did it even to the point where it might be unhealthy, like for my joints, because I couldn't handle that. But it doesn't matter. I think finding a place to express that. Also, I think that
in a healthy and controlled manner, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because you can find it expression on the street and
don't go and fight someone.
Yeah.
But except if you're training boxing, then you can spar them. But I mean, another thing that I just realized that I do, I think 3 months ago, and I've never forced myself to do it, and I never realized that I do it. But if I go on my notes app on my phone, it's full of stories and things that got me mad or things that I was sad about. And it turns out that it really calms me down to just open my phone and write it down.
Yeah,
it just kind of takes away everything that
you're not keeping it in
yes
in the background.
I mean, I'm still thinking about it, but I have like an outlet to kind of get rid of some part of it. So that's one thing. And just go and go into the gym, or like go outside and just run or do something like that, swim, whatever it is, just kind of to tire yourself down. I think it's physically tire yourself down. I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I found another one that seems really interesting in these terms of online schooling and pandemic situation. We have got how to stay connected, and on the other hand, how to manage feelings such as feeling lonely and the desire for self-isolation.
Nice. Well, one key distinction here again between physical distancing and social distancing. At the beginning, these were like overlapping in the meaning that actually was ascribed to them. But being physically distant from someone does not mean that you're socially distant from it. So what I mean by this, right now we're headed easier than, for example, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in terms of the ways, in terms of ways or mediums to connect. But when I say connect, I mean really connect, not just sending a meme, or although it can be helpful, but the level of connection can be maintained even with mm, physical distancing from one another. So, for example, when you have a conversation, even if it's online, have an in-depth conversation with the intent to understand the other person and to see how she or he are doing, and to emphasize and to not emphasize, empathize. I don't know how the
Empathize.
empathize. Thank you. Um, and to really understand and connect, not just have like 50 conversations simultaneously and just be with one or two words and be on this shallow level. The uh, broad spectrum would not do it. It's the depth that will increase human connection. So the depth of the connection, not the number of connections you have, not the number of likes, friends, and other bullshit, but the level of in-depth connection you have with another human being, even though it's online. That's the remedy here, I think.
Yeah, I think just try to simulate
Mm-hmm.
things that will happen in the real world.
Yeah.
So what my friends did, me and my friends, when this all started, we just got all of us used to get into a Google Meet and stay there like for 7 hours. If you turn off your camera, we're like, bro, put your camera on, and it kind of like to the extent that we got tired of each other's presence, but then it felt like old times.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, I'm in my room, and then there's 5 people in here with me, and it was nice.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
also nice. Yeah. And also use other the richness of online communication right now. You can have audio, video. It's not like
Yeah.
you're limited or you don't have options. Use the most channels you have to simulate real connection.
Yeah, you can play Monopoly online as well. That's really fun. Yeah, a lot of things you could do.
Okay, and probably again to the self-isolation part,
Mm.
because for me personally, I have experienced this when I want to be left alone in order to study or to do my things that I had in my mind planned, and it doesn't seem to be healthy this way, because I'm literally sending away my friends, my family, everyone who tries to reach out, and I'm just focusing on stuff that I cannot even say that I want to do. It's just the need to be productive and to do something in this way. So yeah, basically I'm self-isolating myself from the world.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to, I don't know, probably change my mindset about this?
Hmm. Can you please give a bit more context? Why do
Yeah,
you
of
do
course.
it at the first in the first place?
Let's say I have a lot of things to do in my everyday life, and at some points I need to be more productive than I usually am, so I don't have the time to tell my parents how was my day, because I want to use this time in another way that would be more efficient for me. And I'm just telling them, okay, leave me alone. I want to do this, and probably in the near future, if I find time, I can talk to you. And that's it's unhealthy. It shouldn't be like that.
So maybe a balance between it. It's adequate when there is balance. So, for example, you do have the right to have your own free time in being in alone, in or even if you have it the need to focus on some task or even time for yourself. It's okay to have it when there is balance. It will be appropriate. So, for example, yeah, you don't have to share every day, or at least let's say have specified time when you will share with your parents, with everybody else, and then have this time for yourself. And this way you achieve both without having this sense of unhealthy isolation, at least in my opinion. Because yeah, the problem, not the problem, the challenge is actually balance rather than because you need the two. You
Yeah.
you cannot be always connected, and okay, you can be, but you lose the time to connect with yourself. At least.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least for me, it's I don't like to be. I'm a bit of an extreme example on this, but when I focus on something, I everything, even my phone is on airplane mode. Everything is off when I really need to focus on something. And if you do it long enough, everybody will start to understand. But that does not mean that after I complete this, I do not talk to anyone or so forth. I'm not completely blacked out and
Mhm.
isolated.
Yeah. And what do you think about these situation when you need to be reachable at every single moment, so basically 24/7, because we at school we face this, we have these platforms like Classroom or Teams,
Mhm.
and some of our teachers think that they can send us the homework at 12 o'clock at night, or just write a message that we need to see before the next day, even if that's not in our time for school. Let's say they just expect us to look at it because we're at our phones, or and then you start to feel as if you're expected to be
Mhm.
there, to
I get it. Yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We actually talked about it in our previous episodes with our partners in the Nordic region. We talked about the right to disconnect
Mhm.
because it was an issue. Like I mentioned, you cannot be expected to be online 24/7. It's just not reasonable. Prior to the pandemic, was this true? For example,
No.
if you leave the school, everything is over.
Yeah.
So how can this? Although they do it because it's easier, because let's say they forgot or doesn't matter, or they just came with the idea to give you some
Yeah.
task for tomorrow to prepare. It's not in my opinion, it's not appropriate, and you should not be expected after the of course after the session time or school session time, doesn't matter, the time you are expected to be present at school, even though it's online or offline, it doesn't matter. You can disconnect and everything is off, and you'll see it and can be expected to do something about it over the next day or over the next period of the time, because somebody goes in the morning, in the afternoon. I don't know how it's structured, but for sure you have the right to disconnect, and it should not be different. I mean, the time you're supposed to be present or online should not be different than the way it was prior to this.
Yeah. Okay, and we have our last question from this
Great.
here. If you were us, what would be the first thing that you would do in order to overcome the things that we're facing right now?
Mm-hmm. The first.
Well, the start.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. Maybe again to what Pavel said, headed in the right context, or in the context that yes, nobody's perfect, including me, as I mentioned earlier. We are all here to grow and to improve. At this stage, it's a phenomenal opportunity to grow, because you're changing identities, and use it, appreciate it for what it is, not trying to overblow it as something disproportionately important and so forth. Um, Hold it dear to you, this process of transformation, because when you look at it right now, when I look at it, let's say, because for me it's maybe 10 years or over 10 years now, I'm super grateful for what it happened, the way it happened. But it's really try to hold it as a sentimental moment, precious moment, and treat it as such, rather than being stressed out about it. Be excited about it, rather than being worried or anxious. See it, be grateful, and also excited about the opportunity to grow from it, or to gain everything, and try uh, to hold it in that space, in that context. That will be the first thing. Thank you so much for that question. It really was really, really nice.
Yeah, well, I have nothing to say on this topic. I'm in the middle of it, so
Yeah. Great.
I don't really have
So
anything.
thank you again. I guess with that we can wrap it up. And thanks again for this idea and opportunity to have this event. And I hope that we were beneficial, and also that we are able to contribute afterwards. And I'm actually looking forward if we can even had this continued in terms of collaboration between the two organizations, because again, this demographic, it's specifically identified as a risk group in terms of high risk of burnout. It's not being talked about as much as it should be, in my opinion. And also there's a lot that can be done at this stage of somebody's life, in order to have this preventive effect later on, not to wait that they are 25 or 30 and then they have their first breakdown or burnout, I'm sorry. So yeah, I'll be more than happy if we can continue our collaboration in the future as well.
We would also like to continue this thing, and we also wanted to thank you for for your willingness to do this project together with us, and we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to work together.
Great. And maybe as a some minor call to action, we have our beta version online of our application in the App Store, DigiBurn. You can install it, or you can try it out, because we're right now at this testing phase. It will be super interesting to receive a feedback from you, although it's more oriented to professionals. But it still can be applied in the context of preparing for examination and so forth. So it would be really nice if you can share your thoughts or feedback with us.
Yes, of course.
Great. Thank you all for joining and being with us. And I hope that we were yeah.
Oh, no.
Just okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I was going to that, but yeah, because he's part of the team, I'm taking it for granted. Yeah, but thank you for being with us. Is
Thank you for
Amy
having me.
online? No. Okay.
Well, our guest is.
Thank you, Amy, as well. Even though you're not online right now, but thank you for being with us and sharing your side or your take on this. Thanks, everyone, and see you soon.